Hello, thank you for taking the time to listen to this webinar. There's a question whether or not in an environment that we live in today, is it something that you believe has been set up for you? Is it something that anyone believes that is predetermined? Or is it something that we can create? In other words, has the world been created in such a way that everything is predetermined? Everything is set up in its own specific pattern, and that everything that you see, that you experience, that you live by, is actually a pre-concept, something that has been done in advance, and all you are is a machine. Most of us believe that that's not the case. Most of us believe that we can be the architect of our own destiny and make changes. The question is, if we believe in that, how do we do that? How do we accomplish changes, and how do we come about making a difference? We know that attitude often determines the actions that we perform. However, the actions are determined by our accomplishments. Every path serves a purpose. To what extent, sometimes we're not too sure. To give you an example, if we wake up in the morning and we decide to have a positive attitude, that's a choice that we've made. We also can choose the opposite and not have, at any given time, a positive attitude. But these actions that we choose, are they something that we have complete control over? Do you have a complete control unadulterated in the way that you live your life? And the answer is yes. I believe unequivocally that each and every one of us has the opportunity to create their own destiny, an extraordinary life. It's possible to live a beautiful life. It's possible to make a living. The question is, are you able to live an exceptional life? Are you able to make not just a living but a fortune? Yes, you can. It is a true belief that a person at any given time has the opportunity to choose their path and create a legacy for themselves. What is it based on? The thoughts, their feelings, or their actions? The truth is, their actions. Not so much what they think about, although that helps. Not so much what they say, even though it clearly defines a path, but more of what they do. So the actions that you will take, the actions that you actually entertain or put into effect, make a difference. Think about this for a second. A child comes home and tells their parents that they are doing something inappropriate. And the parent looks back at them and said, well, why would you do that? I mean, what you've done was inappropriate. Did you know that? And the child often will say, I did. So why did you do it? Well, I did it because I had a desire. I couldn't overcome my strength to do this. I just couldn't stop it. I wanted it. Or, for whatever reason, I was enticed into it. My friends pushed me, my peers, whatever the case may be. But I did it. The child knows at that moment what they did was wrong. The child knows at that very specific time that everything that happened was not proper. So why did they do that action? The reason is we have, each and every one of us, an ability to choose right from wrong, good from not good, great from not so great. At every single moment throughout the day, we choose our actions. And these actions will not only create the path that we live in, but also determine whether or not we will live a life of succession of events, these moments. And each moment will be a successful one, or God forbid, a wasted one. The cards that a person holds in their hand, it's always been said, doesn't matter. It's not what they have, it's what they do and how they play these cards that will matter. We often see people who were born in homes that were totally destitute, had very little, and yet rose all the way to the top. We've seen people who did not have any type of skills, and yet became extremely skillful and well developed, and developed not only phenomenal companies, but headed tremendous corporations. All of this has been seen over and over again. Simple examples that have been cited in many of the literature, like Beethoven. How could such a man not be able to hear his own music and yet develop an incredible, unbelievable, insurmountable, unmatched, and parallel type of music? How is it possible? If you cannot hear what you do and see with your own eyes the product that you've created, how could you improve on it? How could you be so sure? Well, if you have the conviction and the belief in yourself that you have the power to make changes, and that power is held in your hands, then indeed it happens. And it's not controlled by your thoughts, although that helps. Not controlled by the speech, although it certainly is a deterrent at times, but by your action. The action is what matters the most. The action is what leaves the imprint. The action is where you create actually the path. As it says, do not at any time follow where the path may lead you, but rather go instead where there is no path and create and leave a trail. It's often been said, if you have something to do, instead of talking about it, just do it, and you'll see it'll work. Life is the succession of those events, these moments. But at the end of the day, each moment that you take shows the success of the imprint that you want to live. It's interesting, when my children were younger, I remember quite clearly them coming to me and often asking me, can I do this, Papa? Is this okay? Can I go there? Can I be with my friend? And many times the answer is, maybe. Let me talk about it with your mother. Let me think about that. Let me visit this concept and to know whether or not this is appropriate for you. And what I based it on at any given time was whether or not this action was going to be something which would be beneficial to them. And that's what parents do. That's what we do for a good friend. If a good friend comes to us and says, I have a dilemma, I have a problem, I'm not sure what to do, can you advise me? So, if we are honest about it, we weigh the pros and the cons, and then give them the advice which is most appropriate for them to benefit and grow from it. Not so much what they do with it, but what they become from it. Makes a big difference. So why is it that people end up making mistakes? The most tragic events that we see, children and adults today getting into drugs, getting into alcoholic, and becoming true alcoholic, where they actually have now the disease, and they are determined as alcoholics, or reckless living, or getting into all types of issues which literally tread all of their life and their life being into the mud. Why is that? People have the option to make right decisions and sometimes the wrong decisions. That option is given to each and every one of us. At any given time, all of the time, you have that option to do what's good and what's not. But often, we deal with our emotions more than we deal with our intellectual. Two basic drives control our lives: the intellectual part of our body and the emotional part of the body. As it's well known, or is it well described, the emotions sit in the heart while the intellectual sits in the brain. So we have the two that are often connected, and most of the time, most people will make the determination based on some emotion and some intellectual. However, when it comes to decisions making, often the heart will rule over the emotions. And because of that, you get terrible results. To give you an example, A person comes home and is upset by something that they see which they believe is either inappropriate or unacceptable. The first thing they do is they get upset. They get mad. They get just totally out of line. They scream. They may want to hit something or break something. They might even want to become violent. Where did all this behavior come from? From the fact that they couldn't accept what they saw because their emotions told them this was above and beyond what they could accept. On the other hand, if a person thinks about what happened, what they saw, what really truly went on, and they can reflect on this in a calm, distinctive, and yet collected manner, they can see that this is not good, this is not right, and that they should be thinking about what to do for that. And often we don't take the time to do that. Often we just come in and burst out and cry out and scream out, whatever it is, and that's how we react to whatever we feel or whatever it is that we, in our heart, believe is wrong. Knowing that, and I'm sure this is not something new, obviously this isn't something I've come up with, and certainly not my philosophy, but something that you've heard many times before. Think with your heart would be a mistake. Think with your brain would be a mistake. Now why is it that we point to the opposite? Because people think, for instance, when they fall in love, they say, you're thinking with your heart up here. You're thinking with your heart in your brain. Take the heart away from the brain and put it back to where it belongs. And don't put your brain down where your heart is, but put it back to where it belongs. And it's often been said that those that mix those two will get in trouble. You can never act on an emotion and be right without the proper intellectual visualization of what could happen without it. You must always combine the two together. If a spouse, a friend, a colleague, or an acquaintance does something which is inappropriate, the first thing to do before you can react with your heart is react with your mind and find out, is this proper? If not, how can I help? What can I do? What is it that I can somehow contribute to make this better? If all you want to do is admonish the other person and tell them how wrong it is, that's just about your feelings. But if what you want to do is to help them out, and you think it through and you see that, yes, there is a way for me to help this other person, make them see the truth and the reality, and at the same time, help them become better than they are. Then, in this case, you've used your mind over your heart. And that's the key. That's the solution. In all cases, we must let the heart be ruled by the mind. Because if every time something happens in your life, you let your heart rule, you will find that there will be a mistake. Sometimes a small mistake, sometimes a big mistake. Sometimes a mistake which could last a lifetime. For instance, imagine you have an opportunity to hire an employee. And you find that this employee is indeed attractive. It would be a mistake to hire this employee just based on the simple fact that you found them attractive. Why? Indeed, you weren't able to think it through and make the right decisions to whether or not this employee is truly qualified. You were blinded completely by the fact that this potential employee was just very, very good looking. The problem is, now your emotions got in the way, and you'll have a hard time to make a decision later on whether or not that employee should get a raise, or should be reprimanded if things are wrong, or whatever the case may be. Throughout the employment period, you will have a very hard time to deal with this employee. Same thing when it comes to relationship. You want to hang around this person, or you want to be friends with this person strictly because this person is, as you feel it in your heart, a kind, warm-hearted person. But is there a benefit to this relationship? I have met many people throughout my life that were very kind, but they weren't people that I wanted to be friends with. They just did not have the right morals. To give you an example, not long ago in the news, there was a serial killer who had committed horrific crimes. And if you read the news as well as the paragraph that his mother wrote, she was totally torn by the fact that her son was going to be killed. Now, as a father myself, I could feel her pain because after all, it's still her son. It is her baby. She gave him birth and she saw him crawl when he was young. She fed him when he couldn't eat by himself. And she took him all the way through adolescence, all the way until he became an adult. But in his detriment, he became a criminal and committed a series of atrocious crimes, and hurt many people along the way, and became a serial killer. As the mother, she still felt the pain, felt the deep feeling inside her heart that this was a good man. However, because of her feelings, it doesn't change the type of person that he is. So now, if you only read her paragraph, you say, this is a good person. Listen to what the mother has to say. He's kind, he's sweet, he's warm. He's got so many qualities. That's what the mother sees. As an outsider, you look at this and say, he's a criminal, he's a serial killer. He is a horrible person. He deserves the worst of the worst for what he's done to society. Is that someone to be friend with? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We could have pity for him. Certainly needs a public defender if he could not afford one. And a fair trial. Absolutely. But for you to be his friend? I don't think so. And so, in my life, I have met people who, thank God, were not serial killers, but who were not good people, who were not nice people, who were not honest people. They just had other qualities. But I didn't become their friends. I refused to be part of their circle. A, because I didn't see any benefit in having this relationship whatsoever. B, I didn't think that my contribution to their presence would bring anything good to their being. And last but not least, I didn't think that at any given time that this relationship would bring about any type of positive outcome to either themselves or myself. And I didn't get close to them. And when I see these people, I stay away. And that's probably the best advice that I can give you today. You are responsible for your actions, and the actions of others you're not responsible for. But you are responsible to determine whether or not those actions will indeed affect you, the people around you, or the world around you. And therefore, it is important that when you choose a friend, when you choose a path, when you choose a life way, when you choose anything on a daily basis, you need to choose it in a way where you're using your mind, your intellectual powers. Each and every one of us has been given unique qualities to overcome and constantly be able to fight anything that is evil. We are given that opportunity. We're given that strength. But we're also given the ability to accept it. We all have free choice. The free choice to do what we want, whenever we want, however we want. Even though there seems to be a predetermined set way in some things. For instance, trees. Their roots are ingrained into the ground while the leaves grow out towards the sky. That's not something you can change. You cannot decide that as of tomorrow, I'm going to make a complete overall distinction in this world, and the trees are going to grow the other way around. The roots should be out and the leaves should grow down. This is predetermined. This is the way the creator of the world decided that the tree was going to grow. That's it. You accept it. Skies is in heaven and the earth is on the ground, and gravity pulls us down. End of discussion. It's not negotiable. Not something for you to change. Not something for you to have the opportunity to make a difference in that. You accept it and you live with it. but the actions that you take, the people that you meet, the way you affect the world around you, that will make a difference. And so, in making these decisions, in taking actions, constantly weigh in your heart and in your mind what is really making the decision here at the end of the day. Is it more the feeling of your heart, or is it more the understanding of your mind? You've got wisdom, understanding, knowledge, all encompassed in your mind. But you also have all kinds of feelings. Feelings of severity, of kindness, of cruelty, of goodness. All kinds of feelings. These feelings need to stay in the heart. And they can be separated. At all time you have the ability to separate the physical from the spiritual, and both from the emotional to the intellectual. You can do this at any given time in your life, every day, all the time. And about everything and on everybody. If you want to. If you wish. If you would like. The purpose of this tape, of this webinar, is to let you know that you have the ability to create a magnificent life for yourself. You can be and should be the architect of your destiny. And it should be an incredible, amazing life. You have that ability to do that. You can become anything that you wish. All the tools have been given to you. God, in His infinite wisdom, has given each and every one of us the opportunity to be the best that we can be. Because at the end of life, it's not about what the other person has done to us, it's what we've done to ourselves. I know this speech must have been heard by you, and you must have heard it somewhere in your lifetime, if not by your parents, your spouses, your friends, your spiritual leaders. Somewhere along the line, you know that what I've just said is 100% unadulterated, unequivocally, undoubtedly, unquestionably true. But it's hard to separate the both, because our emotions are so powerful. And our hearts often will trick our mind to believe that we're doing the right thing even though we're not. It's all about choices. And you have the choice. It's in you. And you have that ability to make that choice. Every single moment of the day. All day long. Day in and day out. Week in and week out. Month in and month out. Year in and year out. So make your life a life where you will create a legacy. A life of unbelievable success, goodness and greatness. Make a life so that you can not only trust your hope and not your fears, feed your dreams to grow above and beyond what you can, and starve your fears away from all the things that are negative. And be the best that you can be, all the time, everywhere. And let the blessings from God Almighty to be on each and every one of us shine above and beyond anything that you can think of. And take this and start with the mind first and then the heart. The mind needs to dictate to the heart what you're going to do. And let your heart rest. Use your heart in the evening when you say goodnight to your spouse. Give your spouse the full heart motion that you have, the feelings, the goodness. Give your heart to your children, to your grandchildren, to your loved ones. Give the heart and have your heart beat when you see someone else in pain. Feel for them. But when you want to make a determination, and you want to make a distinction as to what is right and not right, don't use your heart. Use your mind. Use your brains. The knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that you have will get you there. All right, thank you for taking the time. And I hope that the advice that I'm giving you will bless each and every one of us with goodness. And may God help us succeed in becoming the best that we can be, so we can be proud of the legacy that we leave in this world and for all those around us. God bless you, and thank you again for listening.